unsolicited advice is the most dangerous thing. And it is not just unpleasant, it is not just something annoying to go through. Oh, this person is giving me advice and it's annoying. It is not just that, it's actually actively dangerous. Because this particular person, first of all, you must question why they have put their attention to you and what you're doing. Why are they even looking at you from a side? Hello and welcome to my channel, and if you have already been to my channel, then welcome back. My name is Galina and I'm an expert in public relations and mass communications, and in this video I'm going to talk about advices and in particular why accepting advice from just anyone can be dangerous. And I'm not saying unpleasant or slightly uncomfortable, I'm actually saying dangerous. And in order for you to understand why it could be dangerous, let's first look at what advice actually is. It is a statement and it is an opinion, that's right. So it is an opinion about what somebody should do, but the major thing is that it is an actual suggestion of your future actions or behaviors or a direction to take. So it is not only just a suggestion, it is actual active impact on your future actions. So when a person gives advice means that this person specifically is directing their attention to you in order to suggest you or tell you what your action should be, what your direction should be, the direction that you take. So this is why it is actually dangerous. And it is dangerous when you're taking it from just anybody, because not anybody is allowed and not everybody is allowed to give advice. So the first thing that you need to remember is that advice is not a command. You still have your own free will. So in this situation, you must evaluate the person who is giving the advice. So let me explain. In some situations, for example, when you're sick and you need a doctor, or when you have something at your home broken and it needs to be fixed, and you don't have the technical knowledge or awareness or competency, then you're looking for specialists like a doctor or somebody who is a technician or somebody who is capable of resolving those problems to actually either give you advice on how not to have this problem in the first place or actually resolve your problem. But in this situation, that's a person who they have the competency, and in many situations they are assessed, and they're not only assessed by you, even though you also should have your own assessment, but they are assessed by people who are also other specialists in the same sphere. For example, in order for somebody to be a doctor, they need to go through whole education process. They need certain years of practice, and they need to learn from other people who are already knowledgeable in that field. And then, even then, as a patient, you would select your doctor that you're comfortable with. And for some diagnosis, you will look for a second or third opinion. So even in those situations that you will actually look for somebody's advice, and it's not even suggestion what to do, it is an actual statement, this is the diagnosis and that is how you heal it. Even in those situations, there should be assessment. Because of course, you as one person cannot know everything. You cannot be knowledgeable in all spheres of life. Of course, you will look for specialists. But this is a particular case of when you actively look for your advice, you seek advice, and you are selecting the right people to give you the advice. I'm talking about when you accept advice from just anyone, from a random person, because there are many people that love to give advices. And in a lot of ways, this advice is a suggestion by external source, by a random person that can literally impact your actions in the direction that you take in life or in your career. And that will impact your life, that will impact your results, and it is still going to be your responsibility. So there is another situation that, let's say you're a part of a team, and let's say somebody is a manager and or some kind of leader of the team, and that person decides the actions of the team. But even then, the team members, if they're specialists, if they're professionals, they will still want to know what's behind their managers or their leaders' actions. What their leader is telling them to do, they will still question it. They will still want to know why they should do it this way. In many cases, that's the situation. And it's not that you have to constantly argue with everything, but you must know the reason behind this action that the team is going to take. Otherwise, imagine a manager who is just going to tell you, this is what you should do, and you do it because I say so, because I'm your manager. Well, if that's the kind of manager, if you are a specialist, if you are a professional, then you will probably leave this team very fast. So even if in those cases there is still mutual respect, and the manager or the leader needs to make you aware, even though they're taking the decisions and they're taking the responsibility because they are the leader of the team and they are accountable, they still need to give their employees or their team, the team members, the correct reasoning. And then any member of that team can actually leave if they don't trust this manager and if they don't think that the reasoning behind what they're doing is correct. So there is still a level of choice. It is not just you do this and that's it. As many people try to impact you when they're giving you advices, there is a particular reason why this particular person is giving others commands and telling them what actions to take in this particular sphere, because it is still within a professional sphere. It is not for their lives, it is for a job or for some kind of a employment or for some kind of like professional project, right? Now, let's again go back to the situation that somebody, just a random person, is giving advice, and especially if they're giving unsolicited advice. Unsolicited advice is the most dangerous thing. And it is not just unpleasant, it is not just something annoying to go through. Oh, this person is giving me advice and it's annoying. It is not just that, it's actually actively dangerous, because this particular person, first of all, you must question why they have put their attention to you and what you're doing. Why are they even looking at you from a side? Then you need to question how much they know about your situation and how they have this information. Because a random person is not supposed to be so aware about you and your life. Because your life is something personal, your life is something that you are leading. And then when there's somebody that is here, somewhere on the side, they're not looking at their own things, they're not resolving their own problems, they're not leading their own life, they have their focus on you and what you should possibly do, then that of itself is questionable. What are their intentions? So you need to see their competency first, of course, but then you also need to understand their intentions. Why do they need you to do certain thing? When it is about you and your life and your direction, either in your career or in your personal life. What is their motive? So when there is unsolicited advice, especially if that advice is in front of people, first, this person wants to put you down. They want to present themselves as more knowledgeable than you, possibly superior to you, and you as somebody who is inferior. So this is one part of the danger, because by allowing that person to lead your actions by giving you advices, then you're more or less giving them the control over your life. And a lot of times their motive, their reasoning will be, for example, well, but I'm older, I'm in this sphere for a longer time, I have more experience, I have more knowledge, I have more awareness, and I'm right, and you just don't take critique, you just don't take advices, you just think that you're always right. Well, this is the wrong reasoning, because we haven't even gotten there yet. Before we even get to the part if they're right or wrong, we need to evaluate why do they think they are allowed to give advices in the first place. And this is very important. And you may think that it is not important, but it is, because why do they think they know better for another adult human being about this other adult human being's future actions? Why do they think they know better about your lessons that you need to learn in that life? And why do they think they have the right to come and impose their suggestions on you? And there is the second part that is even more dangerous, if there is pressure. So it's not only unsolicited advice, now there is also pressure to take their advice. And this is even a higher danger, because this is pure attempt for control. And even if they say, but you're making a mistake, you know what? Everybody is allowed to make mistakes. And quite frankly, making a mistake and learning from it is much better than giving away control over your life and over your actions. Because we all make mistakes, and very often it's exactly that mistake that can give you such a lesson that is going to take you on a whole different level of awareness, because we actually learn from mistakes. So anytime that you receive unsolicited advice, especially accompanied by pressure on you to actually follow it, no questions asked, there's no other options, it is only this, everything else is a mistake. You can't even look for other options, because this person is pressuring you and they're telling you things like, but I know better, but I'm older, but I have been for a longer time at this job or in this company or within this sphere of business or anything else. Then you should question that person's motives, because very often, actually I would say almost necessarily, they are somebody that wants to exercise control over others, and it may not be about you. They may want to just have the control over other people because they truly think that they are superior. Because why would somebody want to push their advice to other people if they don't think that they're superior? Like, how do you know that this other person doesn't know better what is correct for their own life or for their own career? For example, for my videos, I can tell you I'm not gonna push them to people that don't want to watch them. I'm putting it out there and I'm leaving it free for everybody to watch them. And then you are free, whatever I say, you are free to accept it for your life or not. Because at some point, I don't know anything about everybody else's life. And also I have a practice that is advisory work, but it is people that are coming to me for my professional competency and knowledge. And they are perfectly aware. And before I even get to that work, I need to know more about them and their situation and what they want to achieve. So I have to assess that before we even start. So that is a different thing. And also, if you are in a situation that you're seeking advice, let's say you go and tell a friend who is closer to you, a friend that you know knows better. Maybe they have been through the same thing as you. Maybe they are close enough to know you and you can share the details of the situation. And now you specifically ask them for advice. That's a different situation. You're actually asking for that advice. But if it is a random person, regardless if it is a colleague, regardless if it is somebody who actually has been longer time in this particular field, or maybe they claim they have been through the exact same situation, you don't actually know what they've been through because you're not close enough, then that person has other agenda, and it is very often connected to superiority and control. And now this leads me to the last point, and it is that advice is not a permission and advice is not a command. So when somebody gives you advice, you don't have to follow this advice. Advice is something, it's still a suggestion. It doesn't obligate you to act upon this advice. It is still your decision. So let's say you ask a friend about advice and that friend gives you advice. Well, now you still have a choice to follow this advice or not. Even if there is a specialist, that specialist tells you from their perspective with their reasoning what you should do. They will give you a suggestion, but you're still in control. It is still your choice. It should be your choice. So let's say this professional gives you one suggestion and you're like, well, that doesn't really align with me. Then that same professional can give you another suggestion. For example, I'm often giving example with my anxiety because this is a thing that I was dealing with, and for a long time I didn't want to share it with people. Now I'm open about it, so I will share it one more time. There was this time that we were working through issues from my past, right? We were doing MDNR, that thing that the psychologist is taking you backwards in time in past situations and you're reprocessing them, and they're making that thing that they connect the left and the right eye. But I said, okay, but in the meantime, I'm still having those moments of anxiety and I want to be able to handle them right at the spot. Because yes, I'm dealing with it for a long term on a deeper level, but then there's also this necessity of me handling each anxiety moment at a time because I want to go through my day, right? And my psychologist said, okay, there is one option which is connected to pills, but it needs to be a psychiatrist who prescribes those pills. I said, absolutely not. What is the other option? And she said, okay, so there is several other options. And one was through some breathing techniques that I'm still using. So yes, that was an option. And she knows that this is something that could help. She knows that this is an option. She gave this suggestion as somebody who is a professional, and it was by my request because I went there to handle my issues. However, it was still my choice to say no to this particular option. So I have never actually had any anxiety pills. I know they exist. I had it as option. It was suggested to me. I'm aware that there was this option, and I said no, which was my choice. But I still got enough advices from a professional to actually handle my anxiety. So this is how healthy advice looks. It is requested, it comes from somebody who has the competency and who also have the the goodwill, who also have good intentions, right? And it could be a professional, like a professional type of advice. It could be a friend, like you go to this friend who is close enough to you, they know you well enough, and you know that they may or may not have had this experience, or maybe they have had somebody that they monitored going through the same experience. But you are aware that this person can help you and they're with good intentions. And then the advice is not a command and it is not a permission. So you still get to have your free will. You still get to choose what to do and to follow this particular advice or not. And if it is anything else, then this is suspicious. Then the person who is giving the advice possibly doesn't have the healthiest intentions. Probably that kind of advice is about ego or superiority or a desire to control another person, which is something that you should be very aware of. So this is for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments, have you been in such situations that somebody wants to push unsolicited advice to you and you had to avoid it, or you had to put your boundaries? I'm very curious to understand who has been through this type of situations and what you have learned. Despite that, I would like to invite you to like and share this video and also subscribe for my channel. You're helping a lot with the channel's growth if you like this content, of course. And this is all for today. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.